Oh, good morning, John Curtis from FM John Curtis Chess on YouTube. What we're going to do is we're going to play through a game on chess.com analysis, just a game that I just played, and just have a look at it because it's interesting from the dynamics point of view of the position and how you look for weak squares, trying to obtain the advantage and penetrate, and the pressure between both players in the game, both trying to enforce their ideas upon each other. Okay, we'll just go into that now and go into analyse. Just played against REM 1958, 2205 from the Ukraine. Right, so we're going to go to analyse this game and we'll have a little look at it. Okay, so Rem, I played D4 against Rem, and I just wanted a solid game. He's over 2200. And you might notice my rating's up to 2200 again now. So I've got out of those low 2100s and back to 22. Hopefully I'll get to 23 again shortly. It takes a while. Let's see now, C5. Just challenging the black squares. So he wants to undermine the long diagonal or counteract the centre. Right, so white, the analysis is for mainly beginners up to around about 1600, because I'm just going to go slow so that, so the beginner players can take it in, because it's really about bringing the whole chess community in. The more players that can play a competent level of chess to their own ability and have comfort within themselves, that the richer our chess game will be. So just like the oceans need sharks as A-list predators, and chess needs grandmasters and international masters, we also need all the fish out there to survive, and the dolphins and whatever. Anyway, here we go. So he takes it, and I thought, well, right, we're just going to a Sicilian variation, and I recapture. I'm not saying that I played a good game here or anything like that. Far from it. I probably didn't. Anyway, A6, it's just a normal Sicilian move. Knight to C3. Just developing. Queen C7. Okay. And, right, and bishop to D3 was played. The whole idea is I just want to castle and get some ideas together. He played knight f6, and just remember it is a 3-minute game. This was actually a 3-minute game, so both players are going to make mistakes and positional errors, and sometimes you just got to forgive yourself for those anomalies. But it's not like it's a 2-hour game or anything. So we just castled. Just completed our development, and he plays the old H5, which straight away I'm thinking, oh no, it reminds me of a 9-move checkmate that I did in my last video. I can see knight G4 coming and some mating lines and the like, and I thought, uh-oh, what's going on here? So I ran in the corner. I thought maybe the corner is the safest place, but it's not the safest place. Already white's got a few problems on the black squares, and black's played really well. So I'm thankful that it was a 3-minute game and not a tournament game, because I probably would have been murdered. Anyway, he plays knight to G4 and just threatens checkmate in one move. So I thought, well, I'll play F4. The whole idea was, playing my king to H1, was I could see bishop to C5 coming, right, hitting my knight and threatening the F2 square, check, winning the exchange, and just disturbing my position and making me very uncomfortable indeed. So I'm completely on the defence. I don't want to be on the defence. Again, I like the black position. Anyway, we'll just see what happens. He played b5. That's a logical move. Gets his bishop on the white square to b7, and that would attack the king directly on h1 along a long diagonal. Again, I'm still not happy with my position, so I've just got to come up with an idea within a few minutes. And I played bishop e2. I thought, well, what don't I like about this position? I thought, well, I don't like that knight coming down, threatening my checkmate on the black squares and a whole lot of variations. I don't like that black knight threatening a check on f2 once he plays bishop c5 and tries to pressure me along that diagonal, that black diagonal from a7 to g1. Okay, so he develops his pieces, and I bishop b7, I take the knight. Right, so well, it's logical. I don't think he should have just given me that knight. I don't know what else he could do. He could have retreated it probably, but then he's going backwards. Another move to be seriously considered by him, though it does happen, but in reverse, was b4. Excuse me. So rather than playing bishop b7, he could have played b4. Anyway, here in this position, I could really play a3 too, but I didn't like g6. So, oh no, I don't like that. But I'm not 100% sure that he can get through or anything. But again, I thought I'd just grab the pawn. Maybe a3 is correct. You know, like stopping the b4, because b4 looks terribly strong. As soon as he played it, I thought, oh no, what am I going to do now? I thought, all right then, well, I'm going to get my knights on the queen side, because I think, oh no, I'm just going to have to hustle here and move my knights over to the king side and just protect myself and wind the clock down somehow. Anyway, I played knight d1, and he pinched the pawn. So I played knight to f2 with the idea of playing knight to h3. At least I cut the rook off on the h8 square, and then maybe I can come up with a planned middle game to just try to salvage something. But I'd say that technically speaking, white may be already lost. I don't know. So bishop to b7. I'm yawning again. Terrible, isn't it? Sorry about that, my friends. I don't really mean to do that. Maybe it's because I'm bored in this position. This position really makes you go to sleep because you're white and you just think, oh no, what have I done? I'm supposed to have the first move. I'm supposed to be playing a solid game against the 2200 player, and I'm supposed to be at least holding my own and not losing control of all my central squares. I talk about them all the time, and here it is, just like a beginner. I'm making all the mistakes that I say you shouldn't make. Anyway, I continue with my little half plan of recovery, knight to h3. Rather than recovery, it's more a matter of survival. I don't like my position at all. Play knight c6, and I thought, oh no, if I take the knight, it's just going to get a really easy, beautiful, fluid game. So I thought, no, I'm not going to let you have it your way, so I retreated my knight. And notice how I've got all my pieces around my king, and I thought, well, in a short time period, what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask him, I'm going to say, right, you've got your attack, you open the H file against my king, you got the beautiful line bishop from b7 down to my g2 square, and all I can do is sit here and wait for the attack. But buddy, you've got to prove it, you've got to prove it, you've got to come in and get me. And I'm going to fight. If I can find one little move back, I'm going to find that little move if I can and get some sort of counterplay. Anyway, here he comes. He plays G6. I thought, oh, I can spot some black squares. And I thought, oh, I've got that knight to G4. And before that, I thought, oh, his position was almost impregnable, particularly if he castled queenside or something. I don't know what I'd do over there. Maybe I could do something over there. But anyway, I thought he'd just bear down and try to grab the C pawn, or play knight E7 and F5 or something like that. Anyway, we'll see what he does. So I played A3. It doesn't weaken my king anymore, so my king's weak enough. So I thought, well, I'll just play a few crap bullshit moves on the queen side, just to distract him from where I'm worried about the board. I'm worried about the king side. So I thought, well, I'll just make a few little moves over here, just set a little fire going off over here, and maybe he'll play badly. Anyway, let's see what happens. He took the pawn. I thought it was the best move, and I recaptured. I thought, well, at least now I'm threatening bishop to b2. So I'll probably never get to play it anyway. He'll probably play bishop g7. Anyway, he doesn't. He doesn't play bishop g7. So I thought, well, if you're not going to play bishop g7 and stop my bishop to b2, I'm going to play bishop to b2. And I thought, well, thank you. At least I got one piece on a decent square, controlling a long diagonal. Even if I'm not attacking his king and he's got the bishop on the long diagonal, inadvertently attacking my king, albeit I've got it blocked with the knight on f3. Anyway, he plays his rook up to h5, which I think is a nice move. It looks pretty. It activates the rook to a good square, and the rook can swing along the rank all the way over to a5. If necessary, you can go to b5 and threaten my little bishop with a tempo. And of course, it's still eyeing my king on h1. So I like his rook on h5. I like it for him. I don't like it for me. So I thought, well, here we are. I thought, oh, if I could pinch that f pawn in some variations, I might be able to get some sort of weird sort of counterplay. But he'd have to move his knight first. Oh, guess what? He moved his knight. And I thought, you beauty. I thought, I've actually got an opportunity. So I took his f-pawn. Reason being, if he takes with the king, I can give him a check with my knight on e5 and pinch his pawn on g6. So he's virtually self-exploded here. He's done all this to himself. He had a perfectly good game attacking my king. And all I did was just surrounded my king with knights. And now suddenly the knights have come to life. Well, I'm sure he wouldn't be happy about that after all his hard work in the opening. Or maybe not so much hard work, but sound opening preparation knowledge. Anyway, he took my knight on f3. He didn't like the idea of me capturing that pawn on f7 and maybe getting an attack on g6. Now here I've got a choice of two moves. I've got queen takes bishop, which threatens a rook in the corner. And I've got queen takes pawn on g6. And I thought to myself, well, if I take the bishop, threatening his castle, he can take my knight. Okay? And then when I take his rook, it's not check, he can knight check me on g3, and then king goes to g1, and then he's still got knight takes rook, he's got bishop c5 check, and all these kind of moves. And I thought, I don't like any of that. So I thought, well, I'll try to confuse him with science. Again, because we're a short time limit, he's got a minute 43 and I've got a minute 49. So I took the G pawn, threatening his castle on h5. And the queen still stops the knight check. All right, knight check. So this position, it's really hard to say what the best move is. Um, it's, it's really not easy to find a move. Knight to e7 might be a possibility here. He's going to find it in a short amount of time, but I think he just panicked. So we'll see what he does. He played knight g6 check. He just wanted my queen to get off that discovery. He didn't like the idea of discovery check. So anyway, so I took his knight. I thought, well, that's okay because we've got even pieces and at least your king's a bit weak and I'm threatening to go back to g6. And if you take my knight, which is what he did, I can take your bishop and I hit two castles at the same time. And I thought, hey, I like this. Anyway, with that, he played rook to b5. And I thought, well, great. On the exchange up. Before I was losing, I had no prospects whatsoever out of the opening. And now I'm the exchange up. So I thought, well, all I've got to do is consolidate and try to win. So he took my bishop. And now his king is a little bit precarious. I thought, well, how do I get to his king? Because I can see he's threatening queen takes pawn on c2 and checkmates along that rank. So I thought, well, I'll try to open it up and threaten pawn takes pawn, discovered double check. I thought, that can't be too bad. And I thought, well, if he displaces his pawn, which he did with e5, then I get a nice centralising queen d5 check. And I thought, well, that can't be too bad. Anyway, so he plays king f6 and tries to wiggle around a little bit and try to protect his king. So it's all a matter of how do you get in there and make him feel as uncomfortable as possible. So I played c4. Now, queen g8 looked a lot better than that, right? It looked a lot better move, okay? Anyway, he played bishop c5. And I thought, well, I'll just threaten his pawn. Queen takes pawn. I didn't really want to take his pawn. I don't want to swap queens. Anyway, so he played rook back, holding the pawn. I think he was just trying to gather up time because he's got less than a minute now. And I thought, well, I really want to penetrate. So I played I played rook to d3. The whole idea is I'm threatening rook to g3 and rook to g6 checkmating attack. So yeah, he's still got e7. But the point is, I'm starting to get him in a net, mating net. So he played queen to c6, which is what I expected. Trying to exchange queens and go for an ending, and maybe his e-pawn, past e-pawn, might cause some trouble coming down the middle and tick tock 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 tick. The old pressure of chess, being short of time, could tell on me. So I thought, well, no, I like that queen on g6 check. So I went down there and I thought, well, there you go. We'll give you a check with a queen on g6 check. Anyway, he played d6, but that seems to cut his rook and his queen from the king side. So I thought, well, hold on. Well, what can we do here? I don't know whether it's the best move, but we played queen e6 check, and then he resigned. I think it's because he sees that, well, the king went to g8, white could follow with rook to g3 check. Now, if he goes to f8, it's mate with the rook. And if the only other square he can go to is if he goes to h8, it's checkmate with the queen, right? And that's it. So if he goes to h7, then it's queen check again, and king up to h6, and queen checks, the rook goes in, and then there's a dirty big check on f6. And then he has to come forwards, and then there's a big queen check there on g5, and so it looks like it's a forced checkmating line. And so he was right to resign after the Queen to G8, right, with the idea, and then followed up by Queen E6 check. So all in all, interesting game, a battle of ideas. Black was winning from the opening. White hung on and prayed to the chess gods for some divine inspiration, and they might have listened. So White got the win. Anyway, we're just going to go over now to some live chess, and we'll leave that page and see if we can keep our rating at around about the old 2200 level, and maybe improve it if it's possible. And we'll see if we can get some challenges. Oh, we've got Roostage 2250, game aborted. Where was he from? Netherlands. Oh, there you go. Just try another game. He may have just left might have been playing all morning or all night, depending on what time zone he's in. Let's see now. What do we do? Oh, C4. Knight F6. I always usually play Knight F6. It's just a habit. I'll play E6. I just play something solid. And D5. I'll play Bishop E7. And I'll castle. Alright, so he's doing the same thing. Well, I'll just do the same thing. I'll just sit behind the pawn structure, wiggle around a little bit, play A5, just a little bit. Oh, look at that, I've got A4 now. Yeah, look at that, eh? So there we go. Take that pawn there, I can play knight here. Knight C5, what does he do then? Oh, I can take that. I'll take that one. Oh, well, I like the fact that the yeah. Oh, I like the fact I've got options here. I like that. Queen A5 doesn't seem to do much, but I can't stop him playing D4. I would love to stop him playing D4, but do I want his pawn on E4 or do I want his pawn on D4? I don't want it anywhere actually. I'd rather it just stay on D3, but I'll take that off because the pawn on D4 in centre counter lines and everything gives White that spatial thing, and here we seem to be able to have solved some of our problems. I'll play Queen A5. Yes, well, here we go. Now we can play pawn forwards. Well, my plan by playing that move is to just simply gain some space. See, I want those lovely little black squares. I like those little black squares. Got to be careful. I do have to be careful. I'll play rook to E8. Now that's to indirectly defend my pawn. And now he's threatening nothing, so I can play bishop C5 and just challenge his bishop. Now bishop B4, because I want to control those black squares. Now I'm happy. I'll play knight to F8. Right, now my plan is just simply play bishop to G4 and rip off his knight. There we go. And now I'm happy with that position. I don't think I can lose this position. I'd have to be a real bunny to lose this, I should think. Look here. He's not threatening anything at the moment. Oh, there's a threat. He likes to threaten things. Knight D4. Take that. Queen there. And now we've just sort of moved our pieces around a bit of a circle. And now we just threaten his castle. And we hope that he misses queen takes g3 check, which he did. And it's always good if they miss queen takes g3 check. So we jump in there. We're threatening checkmate, which would be very nasty for him. And now we've got rook here. Don't mind swapping off a piece or two. And now it's just a matter of where do we go from here? There he goes. He's not threatening anything. So play rook f8. Not too bright a move on my part. Lost on time. Too much talky. Here, 1 minute 57 seconds on his clock, and I had no time. But I'd actually been able to equalise. It's more about, for the people listening, it's more about trying to show you how the game is played, and explain it to you, rather than win or lose. I'm not really over concerned about winning or losing. I just want you to show you, especially losing on time. The main idea is to show you the battle that's going on for the squares and what I'm thinking, and how adopting similar ideas, you can certainly improve your game and play it at a higher level. So I'll just go back and try to play another go. I'm down to 21.96. I'll see if I can get a win under my belt. I'm playing 56 queens from England. I'll play e6. I might talk a little less this time and play a little bit more. We'll just see. Okay, I'll go back there. I'll take that. Okay. I'll go to e7, g6. On my bishop, I just go here, threaten the pawn. Okay, hits me, I'll go back. I'll go back and hit a pawn again. So I'll take that pawn 3 times now, which means that, technically speaking, that pawn can't be defended. Unless it takes something and opens up a nice diagonal for my pieces. Now what's he doing? If I play queen d7, he's got knight traps queen. Okay, so I can't play queen d7 because knight to c5 traps my queen, so I'm forced to play f6. But the beautiful thing about that is that I've now got my pieces working, and I've got a nice centre coming up with e4 threatening e5. So it's not easy for him now. 56 queens. You've got 1 minute 51. Actually, I'm leading on time with all my gas bagging. I'm actually leading on time. Right? Okay, can I play bishop takes pawn check? Well, if the king takes, I can play g5. If the knight takes, well, rook takes bishop. So bishop takes pawn check looks all right. Why not? His plan is to play bishop g3 and bunker down. Why should I let him bunker down? I'm going to take pawn with check. I'm not letting him get away with anything. So now I've got this g4, g5 I should say, and just threatening his bishop. He's got a little check here, a little check. Let's see now, what can we do to stop that check? He's not doing anything. I could play knight to e5. Now that's an interesting move because it attacks the queen, it attacks the knight, And if he takes the knight, I can play rook takes bishop check. So I get the old thing there. Now, where do we go now? Big question is, how do you solve a problem like Maria? We'll take that pawn there. And we've got a real double-edged game. Now I've got to get king shelter. I know his knight checks. I don't like it any more than what you do. But can you see the beautiful idea that I've got here? I've got queen to h8 is a move on my part. So I play king forwards. There's no checks. I can't see any checks. So I've given myself time to just sort of extricate my pieces a bit. Aha! He's trying to get his king to get some squares. It's very important where this rook goes in some variations. Some variations, the rook is very important. So I can play. I can't get any tempos, but it's a very important move. My next move is so important. I think he's going to play king g2. Yeah, so because he sees queen h8 coming. Our pawn checks. He's looking for checkmate. So that's a problem. So I'll play bishop d7. That stops the checkmate. He was hoping that I'd just be a bunny and play some other move. Now he's threatening to win my queen. But I've got bishop to c3. Oh, he's got a knight check, which wins. I missed it. Knight e5 check. Oh, I saw all that earlier, and I just oh, he missed it. I don't believe it. He's let me off the hook. Can I play queen h1 rematch? Oh, poor old me. He missed it, but I was just losing on time. Oh, I thought I was doing really well there in that game. Just a few slight inaccuracies. Reminds me of the game that we analysed to start with. 2189, rating going down. I want to be 2200. It's my little dignity. I'm trying to keep my little bit of dignity that I have left as a chess player. I just want to be my 2200 rating. Just getting my pieces working. I always say that, but that's just fundamentally what it's all about. I'll play rook here. And go knight there. I just want to play knight c4 and change off a minor piece. I don't like this bishop coming down to my f2 square and all these plans of doing nasty things to me and everything, so I'll take that off. And now if I play queen a5, he'll play that dirty dog move, one of those dirty dog moves that he plays. What about queen here, c7? That's not good. He plays g4. g4 is a bit messy. Position may be screaming out for h5 because any other moves, he's going to play that damn g4 and h5, h4, h5 and try to smash my king. So I never do play this variation very, very well in the dragon. I think it's like a dragon type thing. The openings are not my forte. Knight takes pawn. There you go. Now if I can just hustle somehow. I've got to work out how I can hustle him. How do I hustle him? Queen c7, knight d5. Bishop here is no good, is it? Well, that knight's a real problem there. He'll play knight to f4. I can feel it coming. What do you do in a position like this? Well, b5. b5, let's just go for it. We'll just push the pawn on and hope for the best. I hope he's a bunny. 23.68. Oh no, he's no bunny. Italy, 23.68. I think they like to attack in Italy too. This is a problem. The soccer players do. I knew he was going to play something like that. But now I've got bishop takes knight. Go for the complications. Rook takes knight. Just try to blast him open. Queen here. And just try to open the whole position. Don't worry about anything that he's doing. Just keep throwing things at him and hope that we can get out of this mess. There we go. And now I've got queen takes pawn. I've got rook to g1, b1, rook to, what square is that? ABCD of gh, b8. Now I've got queen takes pawn with the check. Well, I've hustled him a little bit. What else can I do here? He wants to change queens. I don't want to change queens, but why not? He doesn't know what he's doing, does he? I'll hit his rook. Just confuse him. That's the whole idea. Just confuse him. I'll save that pawn there. I could have played e5 first and maybe got a better line. Can he save his bishop? I don't know. Oh, he doesn't. Oh, he doesn't. He saw that one coming, did he? Well, I'll take that. Oh, he's got rook takes pawn. Oh no, rook takes was so much better, buddy. If you played rook takes pawn, I was dead. The game was over. It might be over anyway. I'll just gotta hustle. 27 seconds. He's got all the time in the world. Knight here. That knight near his king could cause some trouble. Just trying to hustle him somehow. No, he doesn't like that. Well, I need my king off that line. That's the way. Go over that way. Don't know what he's doing there. King up. I go and try to push all my pawns forwards or something. King up. Hold my pawns. Queen my pawns. Push my pawns. I lost. Oh well. He outplayed me completely. He had lots and lots of different wins. He could have won in a myriad of different ways. This guy's 23.72 Chinese. I'm not going to talk so much. I'm going to actually try to win this game and boost my rating. Here we go. I'll play my usual rubbish. I'll take that knight. And normally you'd think that would just help his development. But his bishop on f6 is not that of a problem. Right, so I'll just play queen d3 and castle queenside. And just see how the game goes. Okay, we can take that one. The point is, when I castle queenside, I really would like to attack a isolated d pawn or something. Right. Okay, so we've got the isolated d pawn to attack. Now play knight b3 and just attack that pawn. Just try to get rapid development. That's all I'm after, rapid development. Didn't play knight to f3 because I want to play bishop e2 and bishop f3. That's my plan. A rook on the h file to e1. Oh, there he goes. He's on something. So now queen to f3. Oh, he wants to play a little bit of a trap move or something, right? Bishop takes knight, pawn takes pawn, check, and recaptures with the queen. So how do we go with queen to b that square anyway? I'm just thinking now if he plays bishop takes knight, I play pawn takes, and then if he plays knight takes pawn check, I hit the knight, and then maybe his knight's trapped. I don't know. And either way, I'm going to get the d pawn with a tempo. Get a badly weakened king, but I might be able to occupy central squares as compensation and get some sort of mediocre game. And I'm happy with a mediocre game. Well, let's get the pieces working. Rook takes pawn. Well, let's see, what can we do here now? Well, that's a legitimate threat. He's got a legitimate threat there. He wants to threaten my pawn. I'll let him have that one. He's on my rook. So now he's not threatening anything. So I'll play rook to d2. And you can see I defend my f-pawn. And I'm threatening to take his b-pawn. So I'd be happy to rip his b-pawn off. Anything that I can do to cause him trouble. I do like knight d4. But yeah, you see, he's got a discoverer on that pawn. So if I play knight d4, the beautiful thing about the position is that his queen and his rook are not combining on my c-pawn, my weak c-pawn. So that's the plan. Oh, well, there you go. I can now take with the pawn. I've undoubled my pawns. I've got my rook on d2. Got my queen actively placed. I've got a weak king. Remember, the weak king is there. That king's very weak. I've got king to c1, as it looks like a problem move. King c1. Yeah, king c1. I've got that. Now I'm threatening queen takes b2, b7. I can have some real problems if he starts pinning my rook. I've got to play bishop d3 and stop all those rotten checks there. He's got queen takes pawn. I don't want him to play queen takes pawn. So I'll offer him the change of queens. I'll offer him the change of queens. Slow him down, slow his attack down. He's got a check over here. You know what? We can let him have that check. I'll play bishop d3. That fortifies my king. Now, when I play king e2, it's not so easy for him to finish me off. He thinks he can. He's threatening rook e6. I have to walk around a lot, don't I? My queen's badly placed, isn't it? What a horrid queen. Okay. I can take his bishop. That's on his thing, isn't it? I can take his bishop, go back, and then queen h7 wins. Ah! Yeah, that wins. Yeah, because I can't stop rook e6. Okay, I can't even do that. I can't get a move in. So I'll resign. He played really well. 23.76. He's only just short of 2400 rating. Shiny. He gave me 2 games. He declined my new challenge. He probably thought, oh no, he's too weak. Bet ID 2308. I'm getting some good players here. All over 2300. D5. And I've lost every one of them. I'll take that. I don't have to worry about the pawn storm down the centre now. Now, can I hold that pawn? Is that good to hold that pawn? Why not? Looks all right. What's wrong with it? My plan is e5. You'll take that. Oh, I can't play e5. Oh, you stopped me playing e5. Oh, dirty dog. I'm going to play c5 to stop you playing d4. You won't let me play my move. I still want to play e5, even if you won't let me. He's fighting for squares. Okay, so yeah, he's fighting for squares. I want to play e5. He won't let me play e5. He doesn't want me to play e5. He wants me to play e6. Dirty dog. Well, I can play knight to f6 instead. I've got to watch out for knight b5. Okay, so how do I fix him here? I've got knight hits knight to d5, and he's got all those fantastic moves. What a horror! I've got e6. It's weak, but why not? Well, now I've got bishop here. Oh, wrong move. Knight d4 would have caused him all sorts of angst. Oh, knight d4 would have caused him all sorts of angst. Yeah, so I had the opportunity. He missed it, and I had the opportunity of playing that little middle move, and then he would have had some trouble. Now I've got a bad endgame. 6 pawns against 6. Well, at least the pawn numbers are even, if anything. Not much else is even. Well, I'll put that rook up there and play g6. So that's 1 pawn that's held. Right. Now, I need a rook on the e file. So I'll put that one there. Because my rook, I'll play king here. So that way I now open my e file for attack, and then I can play knight d7 and just hold the c pawn. So I'm now threatening rook e2 and penetrating. So I can now play rook to e5 and activate my rook. So I want to double the castles. He'll probably play d4. Yeah, he doesn't know what to do. See, when you don't know what to do, play d4. Now I'll play rook d4 and threaten to challenge the rooks. That's all right. So I'm happy with that position. He wants to play c4. Rook takes rook, pawn takes. Now I'll take the rook. I didn't like the idea of him taking the rook, then playing c4. Now I just slip back into c7 where I can defend my weakened queen side. And I can still play rook to e1 because his rook can't go to e4 because the pawn on f5. I've got 1 minute 13. I've got to pick up my act. So now rook here. I've activated my rook. Okay, what's he doing? We'll play knight here and just offer the exchange of knights. I'll be happy with the endgame. Oh, he doesn't want to do that, so I can play rook here. That improves my position a little bit. Okay, now I can play knight d4. There you go. It's a bit weak, but I can just hang on, I think. With rook and pawn endings, the most important thing is to just be able to stay active. Staying active is key. Right, so now I really want to get to the 7th rank or something. I've got pawn here. That threatens his rook. Right, and now I've got knight hits rook. That threatens his rook and the rook pawn. So really now, out of all that, I've actually got a little mini attack. Now I can play knight takes pawn. I'm on his rook. And I can play king b7, so I'm off the pin. So I've won a pawn. So let's see now, what's he doing now? Knight here, that threatens a pawn. What's he doing? I'll take that pawn. Can I take that? Looks like it's there. I play pawn there. I don't want him getting any play. He's attacking my rook. I just go back one square. King there. I want to go up and attack his knight. King up, just attack his knight. And now I've got knight checks. That's what I was really after. And king to b7. Because now I've activated my knight. Rook checks. I don't know whether he missed that. I want some time, so I'm going to play king here. And I won on time. So I beat a guy, 2297 or 2300 rating, and now I'm 2192. I'll give him a rematch. He might give me some more rating points. Oh yeah, he wants to play again. Bedai, 2297 from Poland. Here we go. Obviously thinks that he should have won that game, but I'm actually very good in the end games. My opening's not so strong. My forte has always been my end games, and I was able to hold there and cause counter pressure in the end game. And I actually outplayed him in the end game. You know what the theory is? The theory is get to another end game, you might get another win. So, yeah, d5 is probably good for white here, for black here. It's a simple move. I'll castle. They usually play d5 here or something. But maybe not. If I play queen to d2, he plays d5 then. I think that's it. Play knight to b3. Just to ask him the question. I think a5 is the correct move. Now play f4. I think a5 was a better move than bishop e6. I'll just push that pawn there. Ask him that question about his bishop. He'll either go back or take the knight, one of the two. He went back, that's all right. I haven't got any problems now. I could play knight back to d4. And I've got that pawn there on bishop 5. He's not threatening anything. His only positional line is to play knight to, what's his name? Knight to c4. So I play queen to d2. Now will he play knight to g4? That's the big question. Or knight to c4. Or will he just make a queen move? Well, if we don't want to take that knight, but we'll just move our bishop over here to g5. You just pin that e pawn. We're just trying to complicate it for him. He's a good player, so we're going to make his brain work. Mr. Bedai from Poland. So now he's going there. So his idea is he just wants to cause me some trouble. So I can play knight to d5 and complicate it. I don't mind losing the exchange here because I get the exchange back. See, my knight takes e7 check. Will win the exchange. So he's got queen takes knight check. Queen takes queen, knight check. Pawn takes, bishop takes check. And then at the end of it all, he can't stop knight e7 check. I hope. I hope. But anyway, he's thinking about it. He's got 1 minute and 15 seconds or 14 seconds to actually do something. And he knows it's complicated. What's he done? Hasn't done anything. Still thinking. At least he's not using an engine, he's using his brain. Oh, look at this. He's come up with an attack. Well, I've got knight takes pawn check. I know that much. But I can't see what he's doing after queen takes that. I really can't see what his plan is. He's got to check. Okay, so I go in the corner. So what do you do now, buddy? How do you stop knight takes pawn check? Oh, you're going to play there. I'll just take that. Well, we know all those little tricks. Now you're not threatening anything. Right? So now I've got bishop takes pawn. Have you got a threat? Knight to knight 5 or something. Rook to f1. That threatens a piece. Threatens a queen. So that keeps him... The threat is greater than the execution in these moves, these positions. So he's got a queen on a good square. He can't go to h5, h4 because the bishop's there. So really, he's only got one square, d5 or c5. He could try to change queens. He's attacking my queen. Maybe he thinks I'm doing pre-moves, but I'm going to threaten his bishop. And simply put, I'm threatening everything now, threatening his bishop, threatening knight takes pawn check, threatening bishop takes pawn, threatening rook takes queen, and he's got 16 seconds and he's going down, he's ploughing down to 0. So really, he didn't think it all out. And it looks like a win for the forces of goodliness and kindliness. Oh, that's me. That's me. The guy that's over 2200. So should we give him one more rematch? Oh, he wants to play me. He wants to play me. He thought, God, I had him. This Patzer, I thought I had him. And he got off the hook. He complicated it and got off the hook. It's a miracle he won. A miracle, absolute miracle. So he's just thinking he can get me this time. We'll give him a chance. We'll give him a chance. I'm just developing my little pieces there. Carefully, watching my move order. I looked at H5, but it creates a few holes. What about playing B6? Probably not accurate, but I don't like that bishop sitting there on C. Well, he's after me already. He's threatening something. He wants to play bishop to e5. And it's a good move too. But I'll play bishop b7. And we'll allow him to play his knight to e5. And we'll just develop and he does what he does, I suppose. Might even give him a square or two. Just give him a square or two. Bishop takes pawn looks all right. I'll take that. So I'm just thinking, well, in this particular position, I'm threatening to take his pieces. He wants to grab a few pieces. Well, why can't I do all this and just steal the game somehow? I've got bishop e7. I'm on the rook. I want a castle. That's it. So I'm saying I'm on the right now. I'll hit his knight. Takes with the bishop. So if I move king here, I'm on his bishop, and I'm on his rook. Right, so I'm on his rook, I'm on his bishop, and I'm on his knight. So this is how I won the last game against him. I just confused him with science. Chess is a tricky game sometimes, isn't it? I've got to watch out for checkmates. Little queen d2, queen to h6 and all the rest of it. So I've got to be careful of the move order. He's thinking about it again. This reminds me of our last game. Oh, he's found that move, has he? Well, I'll take the rook in the corner. I don't think he's seen that. He checks me. Okay, well, where do I go here? So on his knight, oh, well, that wasn't too bright, was it, ladies and gentlemen? Well, I'll threaten the pawn. I want to play king e7 here. So how many pieces have I got? Let's assess the situation. We'll assess the situation. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces, and he's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So he's a piece up. And theoretically, I'm dead. Okay, so we'll just play king to e7. And we've got to take the knight. Okay. And queen takes bishop. So we're actually the exchange down. And we're entering into a an endgame again. Right. Rook d1 is the correct move. Well played, sir. Rook d1. We'll go here. That'll confuse him. Just confusing you, young lad. We're just confusing you and taking off your pawns. Do 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 do. Right. There's a mating net there I've got to be careful of. I'll push that pawn. Now, where's the trap? If I play pawn takes pawn, you can take my castle. Now, this could be a trap. Now, pawn takes pawn. Now, if he takes the castle, he loses. Oh, he doesn't lose to pawn takes pawn. Oh, he's got the rook to go back. The whole idea was pawn takes pawn, how do you stop it? But unfortunately, he's got a way of stopping it. So I'll resign that game. Well played, my friend. Well played. One more game. See if you can get square. I'm 21.96. I'm under 2200. Can I beat Bet ID? Righty, we'll just try again. Tried to beat him with complications that time. Didn't work. Bishop D. I thought Bishop D7 was a better move on his part. This way, he hasn't really done anything. He hasn't done anything. I've got just a nice game. It's a nice standard sort of game. Castles. Yeah, I'm happy with that position. Okay, I imagine he should be happy with his too. F3 is a bit weakening. Rook E1 looks like the natural move. Very important in these types of positions to find your natural moves. Like G6 is a natural move to take advantage of my pawns and my rook and everything on that line there. Try to long diagonal. You can see a few holes in my position. But by the same token, I can play A4, and that way if he tries any little pin tricks, I've got rook A2, I can come out there and hide. And I've got a pass pawn. And a lot of players say pass pawns should be pushed. So we'll just push that pass pawn. Got the outside pass pawn. All right, so he's got that. I can push that pawn. Rook c4 could be dangerous. I really should develop, probably. I want to push it. I can play rook to a4. It's only got a few squares to go. I don't like that square. This is very, very tricky. h3. I don't like these knight g4 moves, exploiting this weakness that I've got along here on the white squares. I have to be real careful. I can't over push the pawn. I have to watch my clock. Can't over push the pawn at this stage. A good move for him in that position is simply rook a1. It causes me all sorts of problems. Rook a1. Then I'd have to push the pawn. So he's got the knight on the side of the board. And we all know that they say, Das Springer am Rande bringt Schande. You should not move your knights on the side of the board. And now there's no pressure on my e-pawn. I've got time to play bishop to e3 and knight on the b file to d2. Admittedly, the downside is that my pawn is a bit weak and advanced. Now, what are we doing? I could play queen to d3, developing a piece and attacking his rook at the same time. That can't be bad. With his knight on the side of the board, that can't be a bad move. And now his aim could be to play rook c3, right? But I can push the pawn for a queen. I can push the pawn for a queen, and because he's got to prove himself, he still has to prove himself, and I'm queening that pawn. So is he overextended with this silly knight on h5? If anything, the position that the thing that might kill him here is his. I've almost got rook takes bishop. I don't know what his plan is, but this pawn is starting to get awfully dangerous on a7. Now, queen to d2. What's your plan there, buddy? So he's got the knight there on f4, but the problem is that I'm not taking that. Oh, now he's got the pin, but now I've got knight takes knight. I've got rook takes bishop. I've got queen of d3, holding my pawn, queen of b3. My pawn's on a7, I've queen e6 check. Knight takes rook, queen takes e-pawn. Rook f1, hold my position, e5. Queen takes pawn. Queen takes rook check. Make a queen. And I won. So that was good. So we ended up winning the match against Bedid 2283. He was over 2300 before we took all his points off him. And he was from Poland. So thank you, Poland. We had some really good games, some really, really tight tussles, and we got our desired outcomes by complicating things on one or two occasions and we did lose a game that way too. So to be fair, there was a pretty rough tussle between the two of us. But in the last game, we just held fast and stuck to basic chess principles, and our position didn't collapse early. A lot of weaker players would have played slightly weaker moves, but the fall. How did BetID lose? Well, if we had to sum it up in German, we'd say Der Springer am Rande bringt Schande. Der Springer, the knight, am Rande, on the side of the board, brings Schande. Lightning, thunder, disaster. And he played that knight to h5 move, right? So that was his undoing. And if we go back to the position there and analyse the game, we'll see that, let's have a look at where the critical mistake came in. We'll go back earlier and we'll have a look at that. Analyse that position there. And we'll just have a quick look and see where he went astray. I won't go through the whole game, but we'll look at this critical situation. Right, so this is where he's got all these fundamentals are all right. He's got all these pieces on the right square. And you can see the analysis board gives black advantage. White got a star for pushing his A point at the correct time. And now h3, that stopped the knight to go to g4. That's where the knight's natural square was, to bear pressure along my square. Here it is. And what does the engine say? It says, I told you about the Springer am Rande bringt Schande. Knight on the side of the board often brings disaster. And that's what it did. It says knight h5 is an inaccuracy. His correct move was rook to, on the A file to a8, and to attack my pawn, which was starting to become a danger. So the computer, the engine, recognised it. But just don't forget that little rule in your games. If you really want to play knight on the side of the board, you've got to have really good reasons for it, because it's such an anti-chess move that it can come good in the odd variations where there might be like a checkmating attack on a king or something like that to go to an f4 square. But just remember, knights on the side of the board, they don't have the same amount of influence. You'll see my knight here can go to c6. It can go to from d4. It can go back to anyway, knight's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 squares it can go to from the centre of the board. Whereas the knight on the side of the board's only got 1 or 2 squares it can go to, or 4 squares maybe. Anyway, but the best thing to do is just try to remember that fundamental. Knights on the side of the board often bring disaster. And with that, I'll say goodbye and Happy New Year. And we'll sign off.